This video is brought to you by NordVPN. You know the name, and in case you're still not convinced, then let me try to sway you. If you're going to start traveling again after staying inside for over a year, then you're going to be stuck with a lot of icky public Wi-Fi that's basically leaving you a sitting duck as far as security is concerned. If you'd rather not see daylight like myself, then you're probably going to continue rewatching the entire Netflix catalog, which, as many of you know, NordVPN can also help you with by letting you bypass those pesky geo-blocks. Now, if not for any of those reasons, then you might just be interested in not allowing your ISP to look over your shoulder. With NordVPN, enjoy worldwide access on up to 6 devices with no data logging. And if you hate it, then just take advantage of Nord's risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee. Head on over to nordvpn.com/ReignBot to get a huge discount on a 2-year plan, plus use promo code ReignBot to get an additional bonus absolutely free. Again, that's nordvpn.com/ReignBot and promo code ReignBot. Given how connected we all are these days, it might seem strange that someone could just disappear without a trace. In truth, it happens more often than we may think, and while efforts to find a missing person can be big news at first, the world is unfortunately quick to move on. Today, we'll discuss a missing teenager, one whose case reemerged under troubling circumstances after several years of dormancy. In January of 2021, a video posted on TikTok suddenly went viral. It featured a woman with black eyes sitting in the back of a car, and to many, it looked like she might be under duress. What really captured the attention of those online, though, was the person's striking similarity to one Cassie Compton, a 15-year-old who disappeared from her home in Stuttgart, Arkansas on September 14th of 2014. The woman in the clip would soon be identified by family as Haley Grace Phillips, an LA resident who had been reported missing by a family member, though by her own admission, wasn't actually missing. Rather, she had just had a falling out with her father and so had cut off communication for a time. The viral video is actually what caused her family to file the missing persons report in the first place. In the aftermath of the video, Haley would cooperate with the FBI to clear up her identity and go on to explain her side of the story in several Instagram live streams. In her first stream, she infamously said, quote, "I don't know who this Cassie bitch is," which garnered a negative response from concerned viewers. When asked about her black eyes, she told her audience that she'd been jumped and robbed by 2 women when leaving a store earlier that day, and that the men in the car were friends of hers who were helping her track down her attackers. Though her somewhat abrasive attitude had turned much of the online community against her, there was still a lot of concern for Phillips, who viewers worried might be clearing the air at the behest of an abuser. In many ways, Haley's live streams may have made people more skeptical of the idea that she was okay, with commenters mentioning how she might be an addict or that her story about being jumped didn't add up for any number of reasons. Whether or not these people were actually onto something or just blowing things out of proportion is unclear, and might remain that way since shortly following her sudden notoriety, Haley Grace Phillips seemingly removed her Instagram account, and now there are just a handful of fakes in its place. Now, unfortunately, once the buzz about her mistaken identity had died down, so too did the renewed interest in the disappearance of Cassie Compton, most likely due to how the case just leaves us with a massive dead end. When it comes to Cassie, it's worth first noting that she was suspected of being bipolar and was known to flush her meds down the toilet rather than take them, but there's no evidence to suggest that this has any part to play in her disappearance. There seems to be 2 conflicting stories surrounding the circumstances of what happened on the last day Cassie was seen, the details of which both seem to come from Cassie's mother Judy, albeit one coming indirectly. In both versions, Cassie had attended a demolition derby with a friend in DeWitt and briefly returned home around 7 p.m. Also in both versions, Cassie's mother was said to be sick, and so was in bed during the short amount of time her daughter was home. Lastly, Judy's fiancé Brandon Rhodes was also present that night, and the fact that he was makes all the difference. Where the 2 stories begin to differ is in what happened after Cassie arrived home. In her mother's more recent retellings, she said of her fiancé, quote, "He was in the house and was cooking dinner. That's what he was getting ready to do whenever she came home. He was cooking supper because I was really sick." She would also add that Cassie had claimed that she was, quote, going to the store before leaving, and that Rhodes had brought Judy dinner in bed, giving no indication that he'd ever left the home at any stage. Now, this does sound convincing, but according to Tina Stores, a private investigator hired to pick up Cassie's stagnant case a year after she'd gone missing, Judy had told her a different story. In an interview with KATV, Stores tells reporters, quote, Judy said Rhodes told her he was leaving and he was going to get cigarettes, but at the same time that he goes to get cigarettes, Cassie Compton texts and says, quote, I'm going to get a smoke. Red flag. She's never seen again. The PI continues, my concern here is, did she get in the car with him? I'm not going to say he did anything to her because I don't know, but you put 2 and 2 together. He's going to get cigarettes and she's going to get cigarettes. Something's just not right here. He was gone in Judy's car for hours with no driver's license, no nothing, and you read the article that states he was on his bicycle. He wasn't. He was gone. And after he came back, he went in the bathroom and was sick and stayed in the bathroom for an hour or 2. So with what we just heard, if this is all true, then we could assume that early on, Judy actually suspected her fiancé of having something to do with Cassie's disappearance, a stance that Cassie's brother Chris completely supports. Chris has stated publicly that Cassie and Rhodes would, quote, fight all the time, and that she didn't want to be around him. If Judy did suspect anything at first, for whatever reason, she went on to change her stance in recent years, at one point stating to KATV, quote, I never thought he would have anything to do with it. He looked at her like a daughter, and if he did, it would be shocking to me. Sometime after Cassie disappeared, Brandon Rhodes was sent to prison for charges unrelated to the case we're discussing today. KATV actually got a hold of Rhodes and asked for a statement, a chance to tell his side of the story. Instead of clearing his name, however, what he said was downright ominous. This statement actually seemed to shake Judy's confidence, as she would later tell KATV, quote, that just makes my heart drop. That makes me wonder. That'd make anyone wonder. So kind of a side note, but still worth pointing out, is that in online discourse, Judy Compton Kimsey is occasionally accused of being a child predator due to having previously been on the sex offenders list in Oklahoma, although she was removed from it in 2014. According to her, this was due to being charged with, quote, failure to protect her child and having been forced into a plea deal which involved registering as a sex offender. My ex-husband was messing with my oldest daughter and I didn't know anything about it. Then she told my mother, Judy claimed. Of course, what really happened, only the family knows, but this was worth mentioning anyway to illustrate the fact that a lot of people are critical and sometimes even suspicious of Cassie's mother, whether warranted or not. Similarly important context here involves her now ex-fiancé, Brandon Rhodes. Though his comments to KATV were ominous, he has made similar comments to press, though about the nature of psychopaths, in what the reporter took as a thinly veiled attempt to appear edgy. Whether this talk was anything more than fluff remains to be seen, but regardless, Rhodes is the closest thing to a suspect the Compton case has ever had. He was a person of interest, but was never arrested or charged in relation to the case. As of September of 2019, he was being held in Independence County Jail on that aforementioned unrelated charge, which turned out to be for conspiracy to commit capital murder. In the end, after all this time and attention, we're really no closer to figuring out what happened to Cassie Compton, and as things stand currently, the chances of doing so feel almost slim to none. Again, as I said at the start of all this, all we're left with is this massive dead end. This video was researched and written by Lux Noctis, edited by Darkfire Productions, with additional writing, researching, and editing by yours truly. As always, thank you so much for watching, and an even bigger thank you to the following people: AJ Runaway, Saint Maxi, Anthony, Astro, Bloody the Elf, Connor H, Daniel P, Daniel G, David G, DJX, DJX Gaming, that's what that says. Sorry. Eric M, Espernix, Garville B, KMBK Ketchup, Lizatar, Mishi, Phil K, Ronnie, Saul A, T Gorman, TBF, The Deck of Cards, Tyler T, Zweeches Alice, Zombies Were People 2, AJG, Andrew L, Bad Baphomet, Biznacker, Chris M, David L, Deja, Echo Steel, Elon Musk, Freakazoid, Honeybee, Ish Liebebrot, James M, Jamie M, Longfoot, Luck B, Matt J, Mega Brutal, Nick B, Panda Tiger, Patrick, Scarecrow Lasco, Rye S, Sean the CHB, Solar Avalon, SPC Zippo, Tamagotchi Poppy, The Sleep King, The Man in the Crowd, Zerai, Zimbledorf, The Calzone Consumer, and that's it. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and if you're still listening right now, I don't know why you are, but you're crazy and I love you, and I'll see you guys next time.